This is MJ. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an analyzer. Find all my work at mjmunoz.com. Henshin Inspection presents Super Sentai Sanctuary. I will be discussing love and obsession. This is Super Sentai Sanctuary, episode 17, Love is Light. Avataro Sentai Donbrothers, episode 17, entitled Tsubas'a's Light, originally aired June 26, 2022. The writer is Toshiki Inoue, the director is Hiroyuki Kato. So, my first thing is a negative. The effect of the ephemeral bestial looked bad, and what I mean by the ephemeral bestial is the bestial dude who appeared in like a real practical suit, and then they switched him to like a CGI vapor monster thing guy to grab Tsubasa and hold him back and tell him, if you keep this secret for 1 year, you will see her again. And I just thought the effect was weak. It was much cooler, anyway, it was much cooler when it was the practical suit and not the CGI, although the vortex looked good, so there is that. Moving on to positive stuff. Tsubasa carried this whole friggin' episode. Haruka started off, and I thought that was really cool. So Haruka started off being like our perspective character, and it almost even felt like, man, is this girl the main character of this show for like the first, 3 to 5 episodes? And then Tsubasa has stepped up. We haven't gotten to see very much of him, but he totally stepped up, and like the actor who goes by Totoro, by the way, anyway, this guy Totoro, he does a great performance. I really like the fact that the rest of the cast was barely in this episode, that they basically played a supporting role to him, and it felt good. It felt totally natural. It felt like this is what the show has been all along, and I had absolutely no issue with it. The direction. So there's some sort of joke about Sam Raimi and horror movies here, but seriously, I want to commend and congratulate Hiroyuki Kato for doing an amazing job making origami menacing and selling that portal effect. I think everyone really did a great job, from the lighting people to the acting, or to the people doing the acting performances, to the paper puppeteers who were moving those origami puppets around. Everything was just done really well in the horror scene in the cabin in the woods, basically. I talk a lot more about that on a short TikTok, so you should check that out. I go into a whole spiel about it, but just really good work from everybody there. Moving on to talk about something from the writing. I could watch Tsubasa the Love Doctor for a while. They could do a few more episodes like this, and I wouldn't mind, because it was really cool seeing him interact with Makoto, and then learning that he had accidentally wooed or won the heart of that young woman. Who was it? Kano, I believe is her name. I couldn't remember it earlier. Anyway, I think it's Kano. But that's pretty cool. And I would even love it if it was my kid's been watching Sailor Moon, and there's the gag about how Makoto, hey Makoto, she's always in love with somebody, or she had her heart broken a long time ago, and everybody reminds her, oh, his nose looks just like the guy who broke my heart. Oh, his ears are just like Senpai's. Oh, basically every guy she sees somehow reminds her of her, first love, or the guy who broke her heart, or whatever. And it would be hilarious to have, not Makoto, to have Tsubasa going through a bunch of situations where he's trying to help a guy out, and it turns out that, the girl that he's trying to help win over for the guy is secretly in love with him because of whatever. I think that'd be a great gag. Anyway, maybe for the net movies, I can co-write them with the Inoue. Let's see, going on to the next thing. Like I said, I really think it's impressive that this guy, Totoro, just really, he carried it. He carries the role well. Anyway, moving on to my general notes. Here we go. This is what I was trying to say. It's amazing that Tsubasa's actor, who just goes by Totoro, like I said earlier, can easily be the leading man in the series. I don't know if it was his performance, his look generally, or what, but I totally bought into Tsubasa as a character, and yeah, that's what I had to say. I thought I had, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention in the writing section, I wonder if Inoue not using Tsubasa really, and not allowing us to glimpse, or only allowing us to glimpse him and not really get time with him as a character, is built up like a rapport, and he's had a lot of funny moments, some cool moments, but just he's generally positive. At least that's been my reception of him, so that when it comes time for him to have this, super tragic backstory, which we got a hint at, but seeing it play out and then seeing the consequences of that, and how even though that year time is up, that he's not able to see Natsumi yet, maybe it just makes him all really sympathetic, and getting exposed to so much of his character at one time makes him, easily endearing, I guess I could say. I'm not sure. But moving on, I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about, I'll do things a little bit out of order. I'll rate the episode right now, and then I'll talk about my reflections, because you may or may not want to hear that part. And that's the part that's fun for me, and very entertaining for me, especially as I come at this as a writer and as somebody who likes to be philosophical and think about things, versus if you just like the show and like to hear somebody commentating on it. Well, that, I'm your guy, but then, I got to do something for me. Anyway, the score for this episode is an 8 out of 10. I'm going to say it's a solid episode. Great character work with Tsubasa. His tragic horror story background was a delight to watch. His perspective on love and his good heart make him possibly my favorite Don brother. And I love the twist in and comedy served by nearly making the rest of the team his supporting cast. So I really dug that. And I'm looking forward so much to the next week's episode with this Dawn Shark brother or sister, because there was something thrown in there about, is that a girl? Which I thought was kind of interesting. So anyway, that's all I have to say about the episode generally, but I'm going to wax philosophical for a few minutes and talk about this concept of love and how it was addressed and utilized and discussed in this episode of Donbrothers, because it definitely was, and it was a subject of conversation, and if they talked about it, then I can talk about it, by golly. So here we go. What is the balance between love and obsession? So we got to see the girl, Kano, I believe, her love for, infatuation with Tsubasa had basically turned into an obsession, where she had a pillowcase, a bedspread, wallpaper, and pictures, multiple pictures, all made of Tsubasa's mugshot wanted sign thing. And she even had like a picture of him, his wanted poster, that she was carrying around with him, that she showed to Makoto. That's hilarious, right? That's great. When she turns into the monster because she's obsessed with this guy who she's into, kind of like how Tsuyoshi turned into the Hitotsuki last episode, because he was obsessed with Miho, his wife. It shows that there is this dark side to love, and it can be warped and twisted into something destructive and evil and ugly. And I mean, last week I did speak about what is the nature of evil and what makes someone a villain, and villainous action or evil action makes somebody a villain. But I do think there's a connection to love and obsession here. Is it love if you only do it for yourself? Is it love if you only do for the other person? Is it obsession if you only do for the other person, or if you only do for yourself? Does something being love or obsession depend on who benefits and on how they're benefited? Let's just say that two people are in a relationship with each other, and that's the thing. It can be anything. It can be a familiar relationship, or like a parent to child relationship. It can be a sibling relationship. It can be a spousal relationship. So you've got all these different types of relationships, and they all have different forms of love, different types of love, different degrees of love, or forms of love, I should say. And you can either have a cold love where you're distant from each other and where there's negligence and where there's a lack of care, or there can be a good balance of love where both of you, there's mutual respect and consideration for each other's self as a person, for the autonomy. Both of you try to look out for each other and try to have each other's interests in mind when you're living life together. And then there's the obsessive love, where you could just have one person who's far more interested or invested in the other person, and their sole interest, and they're the only thing that they want to interact with or mess with or deal with in life, and maybe even to the exclusion of everybody else. They're so obsessed with this person, or so fixated on their relationship with this person, that all that matters to them is that they possess the other, and they possess the object of their fixation or love. And I guess possession, objection, obsession is, I'm sure linguistically this is not true, but is it possible that it's true that when you treat someone like an object and you seek to possess them, that is the very definition of obsession? And I guess then that would kind of helped me to sharpen the definition of love versus obsession. And obsession would be when you fixate on a person to the exclusion, or regardless of how they feel. And what I really wanted to say was like, you dehumanize them. You fixate on an individual or a thing to the point where it becomes like an object for you, and like an object that you're addicted to, and that you keep getting hits from, so to speak, of this thing that you're addicted to maintain the high of having it or of experiencing it as it. But you only want to do that as it relates to you directly, and like as a thing unto yourself that you. What am I trying? I guess basically, I wonder if this is the truth, because I'm just a guy asking questions here. I don't necessarily have the answers. Is it basically dehumanizing them, and dehumanizing another person or thing and turning it into a drug, and then you abuse that drug as opposed to use it? And then, I mean, I guess you could talk about, what's the difference between use and abuse of a drug or a food or alcohol or whatever. And I think, the standard definition of when something is bad or when it's an addiction is when you're willing to harm yourself or others in order to maintain a particular level of usage of this thing. So, I mean, I guess, again, we can iterate on this definition that I'm trying to struggle with, that obsession versus love is, maybe love can turn to obsession when you care more about how the person or the thing makes you feel than how it feels, I guess, or how they feel. I don't know. That's pretty sloppy. But I do like the idea that Tsubasa is saying love is light and it's a guiding principle. But, if we want to relate it to Tsuyoshi, and past episodes and stories from Donbrothers, the light of his love for Miho blinded him and caused him to, harm himself and others. And, I don't know. I guess then, really, the truth of it is in the original question I asked. Is that a bird? What do you think? Listen to that. Is that a bird up there singing? Anyway, strange. Is it about balance? Is there like a continuum? And as long as you can keep yourself balanced in the continuum, it's fine that you love a person or a thing or whatever to a great extent, as long as you don't let that cross into an area or into a territory where you are causing yourself harm or you're causing others harm. So, yeah, I guess that's about it. And, how does that relate to Takabe or, Makoto in this episode? And the girl that he was interested in, Kana, who he ended up with at the end. I don't know, because he seemed like he was kind of desperate just to kind of be in love. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but there's a phrase or a saying that, that person is just in love with being in love. And obviously that's not a good way to be, because you have to be discerning and guard your heart and choose wisely and treat kindly and be with the right person if you want to have success in love and marriage and in life. But yeah, is it to the point where Makoto was sort of infatuated by, what is her name? Sononi? Or Sonona? I'm not sure. Sonoi's the guy. I think she's Sononi. Anyway, doesn't matter. Anyway, she, he was infatuated with her, but he chose not to betray his love for his girlfriend and, go back to her. And I don't know. I don't know if there was a balance achieved there, or properly reflecting like the complexity of this issue of like love and obsession being on a spectrum with each other. But yeah, I would definitely say, Tsubasa's perspective of, love needing to be a guiding light. Like it was a guiding light for Makoto there, where he could have turned away from her and went to some other woman, but instead he, stayed true to her, and continued to pursue her. Despite the fact that he'd made a mistake and like caused a distance between them, he went ahead and worked to, put the effort in to close that gap between them. So, I don't know exactly what all is being said by this episode about love, but I do like some of what is being said, and I definitely think some of my observations on obsession are good, But before I feel that I'm obsessed with this, I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye to you and tell you to look forward to the next episode. I think I'll have a lot of fun stuff to say about this. I think it's Don Muramase, this shark person. So anyway, that should be a good time. Check out the Creator Spotlight. I have put together a quick video of me drawing something, a character for this Holy Heroes project that I'm working on, and I talk a little bit about the influences that went into the character, and just how kind of cool it is. So anyway, you can get an insight into my work on this character and just see a cool design come together and learn about some of the stuff that I'm into besides Super Sentai and Donbrothers. So until next time, folks, this is MJ leaving you with peace and blessings. This is a part of the Story Over Everything collective.